Today we are going to install the SQL Server 2022 software in our computer. Okay. So before installing this software, okay, what are the major checks we need to check before installing? Why? Because if we install the software without knowing the requirement, that will give lot of complicates irrespective of the cost and irrespective of the performance and irrespective of the some security violations. So think about if you got a new project, or maybe if you're going to onboard any customer, or maybe uh, if you want to, if you got a new project and we need to install, like we need to install or onboarding those customers to our environment. So first of all, we need to understand the requirement. Okay. Once you understand the requirement, then only we need to go for further steps. Okay. So what we're going to do? So here, the thing is uh, onboarding the customer and project initiate, or maybe installing SQL Server not in a 1 or 2 days. Actually, like it's kind of like a project. For that, a lot of people involved. Initially, like a project team will involve, and as well as sales team will involve. Later, it will hand over to the database team and application team to design the uh, backend and front-end applications to support the client operations. So for that, first sales and project team will interact the uh, customers, and they will sell the product, or maybe they will offer the like support. We are going to do this much of budget. It will they have to pay, and also they will ask for the SLAs, what I mean to say, support level agreements. If something goes wrong, how long, and we are going to give the customer services back, and if they're raising any ticket, how we are going to proactively active, and how we are going to maintain the security data for the customer, and how we are going to maintain the customer data per retention period. What I mean to say, customer data is there. Uh, if they want to go for the past days, how long we are going to go back, and we are able to restore the customer data. The customer data means not only database, it will include the applications as well, because the up sometimes the customer will store the data in the application servers, in the kind of like documents and some other files. So the sales and the project team will get the requirement, and also they will get the some requirement as well, how many users and what is the business, and what exactly the business is going to do from their end. Once they get the requirement, here application team and database team not directly involve the customer call, but once the sales team and the project manager involve the initial discussion, they will get the all the required data. Then they will arrange a call with database team and application team and Windows team, and as well as the network team. So they will tell this is the customer requirement. We need this uh, uh, the customer. We agreed for the customer 99.99 SLA, and we are agreed for the customer want some availabilities, and customer need reportings, and customer wants to the data from the last 30 days to restore. Like the customer wants to the data to restore last 6 months, like that. Accordingly, then we'll move forward. Okay. In that project team mainly application team and database team will ask the questions like which once we get the requirement, then we need to decide which SQL server edition we need to use. Why? Because day before yesterday I explained, right, why the edition is the matter, because the edition is matter for the kind of like a cost and as well as the resource utilization. So the customers really required enterprise edition or not. If they required enterprise edition, then we'll go for. Why? Because we need to provide the estimation cost to the project team. Like if I go for enterprise edition, this much of cost we need to pay to the Microsoft. Okay, and this many users and this much of data customer having, this much like disk we need to attach. The disk cost will be provided from the Windows team. And also one more thing is like if the customer wants to the database tier access. So for that we need to go for different configurations like ODBC SSL certificate, and we need to whitelist some IP address, and as well as we need to attach the public IP address to the Windows. The most like building the platform will take care from the Windows, but as a DB team, we need to provide this information. Accordingly, the Windows team will build the infrastructure. The thing is like if you're going to attach the public IP address, we need to pay cost. And one more thing is like if you attach the public IP address, there will be chance to attack the security from like outside unuser people will access. So for that, how we are going to protect our server. One more thing is like what are the like RAM and what are the CPU we need to allocate. Those information we have to provide, and here each and every company will maintain the one project Excel like a calculator. Like in that Excel, what we need to do, like we'll enter the how many cores we need and how much RAM we need and how many disks we are going to attach and how many like public IP address we are going to attach or not, and the client required ODBC security thing or not. That Excel sheet, it will provide the some cost. That cost will include the like the resource, like simply building the Windows team, a Windows server, providing the cost not sufficient for the IT companies, right? Why? Because if you build the Windows team, we have to pay for the Windows team resource to cost, and we need a database team. For that also, we need to pay for a database team, and we need to pay for application team, and we are going for monthly patching activity. For that also, we need to pay it. For that, all the things will consider and will provide the cost. If the cost is matching what the sales and project team agreed from the customer, they said, okay, you can go and build the infrastructure. If the cost is not matching what they promised, then again they go and call with the customer and they will explain the cost. And once they approved, we can start the building the database servers like Windows. After that, database team will install the SQL server, and application team will install the application servers. But the thing is like application servers also the responsible to build the Windows from the Windows team. So the thing is like the typically the call attended from the DBA manager and or DBA architect or lead, not L1 and L2. Why? Because if they ask like high availability, how we are going to design the high availability? Do we require standard edition or do we require enterprise edition? Like if the customer 24/7, how we are going to provide the our support, and if the customer having like a heavy busy system, like what are the disk we need and what are the IVAPs that required to support the business operations. These things we will collect it, and once we collect the resource to build the Windows system, then we can send it to the Windows team to build the that particular virtual machine. So initially, the what are the server Windows giving to the database team, that simply we can call like a Windows server or virtual machine or maybe node. So once we install the SQL server, that virtual machine or computer or node, we can call like a database server. I can explain after installing what is database server, what is instance, and other things. But now here the requirements we need to gather. What are the resource we need to give it to the Windows team. Here like and one more thing. I'm sorry. Here one more thing is like we need to ask the what is the collision setting. The collision setting means like a kind of a long ways, and how the data is going to store the database, how the data is retrieving, and how the data is sorting. That thing is mainly important. Why? Because if you're going to install the software in the US, there will the collision is like a one default collision that will store the data and retrieve the data using that collision setting in the SQL Server database. Suppose like if the software under the business we are going to install in the Germany based business, their English language is not fit. So for that we need to select their respective collision setting. Accordingly, the data will be stored and the data will be retrieved. Suppose like if you're going for install the software and the business is going to run the China, then China having like a different collision, like a language, right? How the data is going to store, how the data is going to retrieve. The collision is the first matter. If you install the English, later the while inserting and retrieving the data in the application team and the front end looking for the Chinese language, the data won't insert. That is a big problem. So sorry, we need to ask the collision setting as well. And the other thing is like the project and sales team will get the information, the customer business, which region and which data centers really operating. Why? Because the customer data and operations running on the East US. But if you build the database server in the West US, then what will happen? The data center will be different location and application is coming from the different region. Then what will happen? If you have more RAM, if you have more CPU also, while fetching the data, inserting the data, we can see a lot of difference. Like suppose like if the application server and database server and as well as business running in the same region, the data will fetch 2-3 seconds. If you keep the database server opposite data center, then what will happen? The data will like get 27 seconds. We are thinking about only 20 seconds. But the thing is like if you think about the customer side, that is a very lag. So that also we need to consider, and we need to build the virtual machines and we need to build the application service uh, uh, as per the customer requirements. The thing is like these are the not database responsibilities, but as a database team, we must aware where exactly database server is hosted and where exactly the application server hosted. Why? Because recently we had some issue. The thing is like the database server, the Windows team install on West US region, and application is sitting onto the application server sitting onto the East US, and also the customer business is running on the East US. So the customer went to go live, and once the customer started running the operations, they giving complaints like previously the customer data giving the results 4 seconds, but once we taken responsibility from the onboarding to a new environment, the customer data is getting like 30 seconds or 40 seconds. Then here application team and Windows team claiming the problem with the database. Later, what we did, like we enable the profiler and we capture the data, how the data is coming from application. Then we'll come to know we got the application server. Then in the application server, we checked the which region. Then we compared the database server region and as well as the application server region. Then we'll come to know both are in the different region. Once we move to the database server to application region, the data is giving very fast. So that is the reason the DB team must have some knowledge, the regions and network side, but the things and activities will take care from the other team, but we have to guide. Otherwise, if you comes to the performance issues, if something goes wrong, then the database team is the more responsible. That is the reason before onboarding the customer, these things DB team have to be carefully take the inputs. Okay, you're taking the inputs and designing the architecture. As I mentioned, the architect or maybe lead will decide, not L1, L2. Once we get the information, we'll pass it to the Windows team. See, we'll gather the requirements. Once we gather requirements, DB team will prepare the specs like how much RAM we required, how much CPU we required, how many disks we have, is there public IP address required or not, and client required direct access or not. We can collect the information and we can send the information to the Windows team. Okay, the Windows team will build the computer. Computer we can call like a virtual machine. If you go for like a on-prem environment, we can go like a physical computers. But nowadays in the on-prem also, most of the team like companies not using physical virtual machine. They're using like a physical computers. Now all are using like a virtual machines. So Windows team will take the inputs and they will start the computer and they will engage the storage team and they will attach the disk. Suppose like we have got a requirement like we have provided all the information to the Windows team and we have given. Okay. So here, what are the information we have to give it to the Windows team? So the thing is like OS information. Suppose like if you are going to install the SQL Server 2022, what are the operating system? What are the minimum requirements that particular computer? So for that, we need to go for Microsoft document. We need to collect the information. Yeah. Suppose like if you are going to install the SQL Server 2022 to our machine. So then what are the hardware like requirements and what are the software requirements we need to provide the Windows team. Why? Because like If you are not providing the information, what it will do, the Windows team will build the Windows machine and they may keep operating system, legacy operating system, or maybe they will forget to install the some tools like SQL Server from 2000 onwards, the code is working on the .NET framework. So .NET framework also will play major role. That is .NET framework and SQL Server 2022 using some PowerShell. That PowerShell also that required to we need to install. So here, what are the hardware requirements? The hardware means like mm, the computer, how much storage we need. Okay, how much memory we need to. If you going to install the software on the computer, that computer how much minimum RAM required to install that particular software. And one more thing is like a monitor. So here monitor like what are the resolution and things we need to set it. Okay, sometimes the monitor settings of Windows team will forget. So these things we need to tell them the monitor resolution should be higher resolution monitor and we have to tell them and also we have to tell them at least 6 GB RAM. But uh, here we already got the information from the project team and sales team. This much need disk we need, this much storage we require, right? That will fulfill. But this is the basic requirement if you want to install the SQL Server 2022. So here, if you want to install the SQL Server Express Edition, then our computer or node should have 512 MB and remaining like Avalanche Edition or Standard Edition or maybe Enterprise Edition, if you are going to install that recommended 1 GB. So Microsoft also telling if you want to install Express Edition also that required 1 GB RAM. And see, and they give like one more recommendation like 4 GB RAM. The other thing is like the processor speed. The processor speed at least minimum 1.4. Why? Because why the processor speed? Because if you want to insert the data, if you want to retrieve the data, then what will happen? The CPU threads will interact the disk and it will gather the data. Suppose like if you see in the old movies, there would be like a songs play system. It will slowly rotate and it will play the songs, right? If it is like the spinning is taking longer time, that means the data will be get very slow. If the process is like a very legacy and also we don't have that much of speed, then the CPU will behave like a wide and the data will come very slow. So that is the reason if you have more core also the processor speed should be 1.4. This is the hardware requirements to install the SQL Server 2022. Okay. So now we need to go for software requirements. So what are the software requirements? The thing is like if you're going to install any software computer, forget about like if you want to install any TLC player, if any media player in our computer, the to install that software, at least we need some other software to support, right? So like that, here, if you want to install the SQL Server, the major part is like an operating system. That which operating system we need to uh, keep in the that particular virtual machine or node. So the thing is like if you want to install the SQL Server 2022, the operating system Windows 10 or Windows 2016. So the thing is like if they said like a Windows 10, don't go for Windows 10. Why? Because Windows 10, uh, the life of operating system is expired. So we need to go for upgrade the operating system. So that is the reason we need to go for latest operating system, that may be 2019 or 2016. So better to go for 2019. That is the good. The other thing is like the .NET framework we need to install. Okay. So if it is 2022, the .NET framework should be installed in this computer 4.7.2. If it is 2016 or 2014, .NET framework should be like a 3.5. And one more thing is like a ODBC drivers and some other setup support files. So the ODBC driver, it will install automatically while installing the SQL Server or SSMS. Sometimes what will happen, these ODBC drivers won't install. So we can download the latest ODBC drivers and we need to install. So these software and hardware requirements, we need to give it to the Windows team. That is a basic input to build the virtual machine. Apart from that, one, we need to tell them, boss, we required some disk, okay, and also we required this many IVOPs, and also we can tell the disk layout, okay. This is the basic requirement, but apart from that, what are the other information we have to give it to the Windows team. So here other requirement is like a we need to ask separate drives, like a separate disk. In the while installing the SQL Server, I will explain why we required separate drives. Suppose think about like we have a one apartment. In that apartment, we uh, we are we are going to keep you, used class and unused class. If you are going to keep in the one rack, what will happen? The rack will be busy, right? Because we need to take unused class, and if you take if you want to wear some unused class like the dress, right? The rack will be busy. That means like disk IVOPs will be busy. If you are going to keep the data and if you are going to retrieve the data in the same disk, what will happen? The disk IVOPs and the disk will be very busy while inserting the data from the front end, or maybe while inserting the data from the application team, or maybe if you going to do any insert operations, if you're going to do any select operations, at that time we can see the disk latency will be more. So there is some calculation to check the uh, if you are getting the data this many seconds, the disk performing is very good. If your data is coming this many seconds, then the disk behaving good or bad. Generally, like 13 seconds to retrieve the data from the disk to memory, from there to giving the result to front end. If you take 13 seconds, then disk behaving are very good. So for that, what we need to do, while what are the disk we are going to attach, those disk should be SSD disk, and also disk partition should be 64K. Sometimes what will happen, Windows team will attach the HDD disk and disk partition, disk layout or disk blocks will be below 64K. If you don't have proper disk calculation, that if you have more CPU, if you have more memory, if your application logic also good, the SQL Server and the business will perform very pure. So for that, the disk should be faster disk. So we can provide the information. Once the Windows team given to the database to install the SQL server, before installing, we can check a few of the information from the database team. Okay. And other thing is like we need to ask the Windows team to create some service accounts. Okay. These service accounts I will explain while installing the SQL server, and I will go for tomorrow topic separately. What exactly SQL service account what will do? How many types service accounts we have? But here the requirement like we will ask the service accounts. Why? Because we are going to uh, software it is. We are going to install the software, right? While installing the software, uh, while installing, we can select some features. That features required some service accounts to get the input from the operating system and to get the input from the outside of the network. So for that, it required some service account. Somebody ping anything? Hello? Hello?
Hi, I asked what is NTFS in disk storage?
Sorry.
What is NTFS in the disk storage? You mentioned NTF for 64K NTFS.
It's kind of like the disk layouts are different types of layouts. Okay, we have to inform the application like Windows team to give the. It's kind of like a, let me check it. It's NAT or something. Yes, or something. You're asking for NTFS, right? NTFS format. Yeah. So disks are like a two things. One is NTFS and FAT32.
Mhm.
It's a file system, Windows-based operating system, providing advanced features like a security permissions, file compression, encryption. It's kind of like a storage level feature that will provide the some security and as well as the some other features. So strictly we can recommend it to go for NTFS format.
Format.
You people are like following right what I'm telling. The thing is like we should like installing the SQL server. If you give it to anyone, the simply they will go and click. But if you're going to click, then our business will get a problem in the future. Right now, we won't get, but later some point of time, we'll get a problem. The thing is like here, in installing the SQL server, mostly it will take from the L1 or L2 people, not from the architect. But this designing and checking the things we'll do from the architect, and we have some checklist. Accordingly, the who are going to install the SQL server, they will check and they will do. But the designing the high availability, what is being. Thank you, Sandeep. Yeah. So the designing the architecture and the designing the features and these things will do from the architect. Okay. Uh, so now what where we are. And other thing is like one more thing is like what are the disk uh, they are going to attach to the virtual machine or computer. We need to inform the Windows team to exclude the database server disk. Okay. If you included the antivirus to scan database files, then the data will be fetching very slow. Okay. We need to inform the antivirus to exclude from the data and log file drives. If you going to exclude, you can ask, right? If someone is attacked, how can you know? So far that we have like a CrowdStrike and Microsoft Defender, the antivirus will do from the operating system, and we'll go for uh, robust firewall settings to allow the connection. Okay. Yeah. So here we need to ask the Windows team this many required drives we required. Okay. C drive, in a way we will get it. And we will ask D drive, we required 50 GB to keep the system databases. What are the system database? I will explain while after installing the SQL Server. This system database files are the core database files after installing the SQL Server. They won't much grow apart from MSDB and TempDB also. TempDB, MSDB, we can see some little bit of growth. For that, we have some cleanup. So here we need to ask at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And H drive is not mandatory because backups we should not keep in the same virtual machine. Why? Because our business is running on the, like we install the SQL Server on the virtual machine. If something goes wrong, that means like region outage happen, or maybe computer when virtual computer is not getting online. Then what will happen? The SQL Server will stop. Then what will happen? The business won't run. If you want to restore the database data, then the backups will be kept in the same server, right? Then there is no point of to keep the backups in the H drive. So that is the reason the backups should not be keep in the database server itself. So we have to keep the backups in the outside of the server. So H drive here, we need to take it out. Okay. We need to ask one for user database files, one for user database log files, one for TempDB files. I while explain like installing the SQL Server, I can explain like what is the data files, what is the log files, what is the TempDB. Okay, but this is the funda for any database server. If you want to ask for Windows team, we need to ask Windows team to this many drives we required. Why? Because if we going to keep all the data in the one drive, what will happen? The disk will be busy always inserting the data and returning the data from the disk. So that is the reason we have to go for different like we need to go for separate disk to keep the data. And I mentioned, right, we need two service accounts, right? The service accounts we required while installing our software in the background, it will some services. That services will run some accounts to serve the data from the operating system to the SQL Server core engine. So for that, we required service accounts. That service accounts, what Windows team will do, they will create the domain accounts. The domain accounts will create from the Active Directory, like a DC, domain controller. What is domain controller? We'll explain later, but we need to ask service accounts. The service accounts means like if you ask for normal account, what will happen generally in our company? We have a username and password to get into our computer, right? Those are called like our accounts. It's a normal accounts. That means our account will be expired like every 1 year and the password will expire every 90 days. That is a normal accounts. If you ask for service account, then what Windows team it will do? They will go for the account. They will tick like a non-expire of the account, and the password will be depends upon the company policy. Sometimes the service accounts also they will set like a every 1 year expire, and some companies with the password also they never expired. Why? Because if you set a as a expired, what will happen? If you reboot the computer, once you reboot the computer, what it will do? All the services will go down, and it will start come online. If the password is disabled, if the account is disabled or password is expired, what will happen? That respect to account not able to log in or connect, right? The same thing, what will happen? Our SQL Server software will run the service account. If the service account is not working, that means our software it won't work. So that is the reason we need to tell them, boss, these service accounts, please keep non-expiry of the account and as well as the non-expiry of the password. The password, the policy, the Windows team, they will set, because every company having some policies. Accordingly, they will set it. I can explain mainness instant file initialization. This is a new feature from the 2014 onwards that will help to speed up the process. These things DB team will do. What is it?
Sir, are we going to use this edition or enterprise edition?
The thing is like our training, we are going to use developer edition. But the thing is like in the business, like we need to understand the customer requirement. Generally, if the business is very small, if they don't require any high availability, the customer is not going to pay that much of amount. In this scenario, we'll go for standard edition. If the customer ready to pay and the customer need high availability to maintain the data, for that we'll go for enterprise. In the real IT corporate, generally three edition they will use. One is standard edition, one is enterprise edition, another one is the developer edition. The developer edition will install on the development machines, not for the production environment. And express edition very rarely install in the intent people to test it or development people to test small functionalities. Those scenarios express will install. But strictly IT corporate, we have to go for standard or enterprise.
So even with the developer edition, high availability setup is possible or not?
Yes,
possible?
development is possible, but we should not use in the production environment. The development edition will get the same as like a enterprise, but we should not.
So, so mostly like if you use the evaluation edition, which they say you have 180 days of features like enterprise, that
Yes,
that whatever the features that provided in evaluation edition are also available in developer edition.
Yes. The thing is like why? Because Microsoft released Revelation edition like once the people are habituated for one path. Suppose like daily we are going for metro with metro. Okay, suddenly like you started with going for a bus or normal things. How you will feel? No, right? We want to go for metro. So that means like once the business is going smooth run, then we have to go for use that software. If you want to use the software, then definitely we have to go for paid version. So that is the reason the Microsoft introduced evaluation edition. That's kind of like a enterprise edition. We'll get the all the feature. But what will happen after 180 days? The SQL Server instance will be stopped once you reboot the service. Like suppose you install the software evaluation edition. After 180 days, it will run. But the thing is like after 180 days, if you reboot the SQL virtual machine or if you restart the SQL Server, then SQL Server
Yeah,
all
understood.
command.
So that means for developer and standard edition, you still need to purchase a license for little price, like, or
No,
it's free.
developer edition, no need to pay any license. For our lab practice also, I install developer, right? I got like a free.
Okay. Standard?
Standard we need to pay. Like as I
Yeah,
mentioned yesterday class,
less,
like
yeah.
standard edition per license we need to pay $126. And if you go for
Okay.
use enterprise edition, we need to pay $426.
Yeah, okay, good, thank you.
And network pre-checks. One more thing is like network pre-checks. The Windows team should be keep the static IP address. Okay. Why? Because static IP address will come to the picture. If you not keep the static IP address to the Windows, then if you reboot the VM, if you keep it as like a dynamic, it will take the IP address. Sometimes what are they available that respect to subnet. So if you take like that, what will happen? Sometimes if you install the default instance, the default instance will connect with the IP address also. And the IP address are you are going to use in the any application hardcode, then we have a problem. So the each and every module application team and reporting purposes we need to change. So that is a reason the ensure what are the IP address we are going to attach that particular computer, that should be static IP address. And one more thing is like there is a port 1433. That 1433 port number is for the default SQL Server port number. In the interview question, they will ask, what is the default port number for the SQL Server? So we can tell like a 1433. And remaining named instance, we can set. Okay. I can show you how to set the port number. Okay. This port number will play a role whenever we are giving the access to the outside of the network. At that time, what we will do, this port number we need to whitelist from the our side and as well as the customer side, and the customer will connect the server using IP address comma port number. They cannot connect with the computer name, because the computer name is nothing but a DNS entry that was registered on that particular domain controller, that will interact and communicate with within the network and within the subnet, not for the outside of the subnet. If you want to connect the server outside of the network, then the public IP address and port number we need to use to connect the SQL server. The thing is like here, domain accounts, like they will give some service accounts, right? These domain accounts are able to communicate from one computer to another computer. Why? Because what are the service account they're giving, it is not able to communicate with other computers which are in the same network, then application won't connect. So that is the reason what are the domain accounts they're creating the that particular DC, it has to communicate that respect to subnet and domain controller. These things I will check from the Windows team, and also we can check from our side also, like if you open the command prompt, we can provide that service account, go for ping. That will provide some information. So other system, yeah. So disable the antivirus, we already discussed, and .NET framework is also discussed. So here, what are things we discussed? This is the like a project, like what are the things we need to collect from the customer side. Once we collect the information, then what are the information we have to give it to the Windows team. So now we are going to install the SQL server. So right now, do you have any questions? Because these things we must aware from the who are going to keep the experience more than 7 years. Those people have to need clear cut understanding.
So actually, I have doubt. Actually, I have in my desk my device.
Mm.
19 is available. Is fine, or I will update the 22.
Which one? SQL Server 2019 is that's fine.
Okay.
And the thing is like just I took download 2022. Okay. So
Okay.
now if I
Okay.
want to download 2025 also I can download. Okay. The practice purpose I'm giving like 2022. But in the upgrade migration purpose, I can show from upgrade from 2017 to 2022. Okay.
Okay.
You people understand that what are the major requirement we need to collect before installing the SQL Server. Because
Yeah.
these things, like if you join as a L3 people, uh, once you join the company to other company, what they will tell, they will maybe directly involve the project calls. In that project calls, we need to understand, like we need to able to answer the things. Why we required this edition? Okay, why they required this many disk we have? Like if you're not going to keep, what will happen? So these things we need to understand. We need to ask the information if they are not as per the requirement. I will wait for 2 minutes. If you don't have any doubts for software requirements and the project call, then I will move to the to install the SQL Server.
So you're gonna install 2022
Mhm.
or 2019, which one you're gonna install now?
I'm going to install 2022 now.
And to go in upgrade process, 2022 is the
In
later
the
or
upgrade
what?
process, like what I'm going to do, I will go for upgrade 2017 to 2022 because I have a 2017. You people having like,
Okay.
I will try to get the software like a 2014 or a 2012, then we can also go. But right now I have like a 2017 software. I can show the upgrade process from 2017 to 2022.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So maybe now I'll go for install the SQL Server 2022. Okay. The software, what are the software maintaining the IT corporate? So those software is keep will in the secure place. Okay. And accessed by only specific people, not for all the employees. Why? Because if you knowingly, unknowingly, if someone access that particular location, maybe they can copy and they can install. If they install, what will happen? The license will go for utilized, right? That thing, lot of money waste. So that is a reason the software only accessible from only from the database team and some key people, and they will keep in the secure location. And also one more thing is like every company will maintain the two kind of softwares like a standard and enterprise, uh, and as well as the different of versions like 2019 and 2022. The thing is like if you are working in the on-prem, we need to worry about this purchasing the SQL software and keeping the software. But if you are working in the Azure environment, no need to worry about. Why? Because while installing the virtual machine, there is a one option directly install the SQL Server from the virtual machine. So, and also it will ask, uh, can I go for use the Azure hybrid benefit, or can I go and use our license? Okay. Azure hybrid benefit and other license part, I can explain maybe after 50 days when I explain from the Azure. Okay. The working, connecting the SQL Server and providing the support, everything is same. but few terminology and as well as the some kind of a license that will be little bit different from Azure to on-prem. So right now, if you go for normal IT corporate, 50% people are using on-prem and more than 50 people are using for Azure. So right now, I'm explaining like a on-prem environment. So here,
Yeah, I have a question.
yes.
So what is like if you see in the chat I just shared,
Uh,
I know SQL Server 2014, 16, 17, 2019, 2022, okay, but what does that version 16, version 15, what does that mean? Why do we have like a SQL Server, the release of the year and the version? What is
Yeah.
what is the
yeah. So I think version is like a kind of like a generation, kind of like a model. So what will happen in the 2000 they released the one model. After that they did not release any model until 2005. But from 2000 to 2005, what are the bugs, what are the repairs they have, they go for like a patches and they release like a cumulative updates and a service pack and a hotfix. And 2005 they released one more model. From 2005 to 2008 they did not release any new package. But from 2005 to 2008, like, sorry, 2005 to 2008, the software having lot of bugs. So for that, to repair that package, they released some service pack 1, service pack 2, service pack 3, service pack 4. So I can explain what is the service pack.
so as they release their service packages, that version number will increase?
Yes. So the thing is like the main I will show here. So here I install 2022. The starting number won't change. But if you see the last 4 digits, this will be changed. Variant to the cumulative updates, variant to the hotfix, and variant to the service pack. If it is 2016, the number will be 13. Okay. If it is 2017, the
So
number
for
will be.
example, if you, as you're saying, they will release SQL Server 2025 as a future. So that time the version will be 17.
No. See, they released 2025. Okay.
They were released already. Okay.
They are released. Okay. They are released. But in the corporate, no one is using because once we release the product, the people has to habituate and there may be a lot of bugs. Okay. Slowly they're using in the development edition, they can utilize. Here, what I mentioned like from 2008 to 2012, okay, they did not release any kind of a package, but
Service pack. Okay.
that package may be some issue, right? The software having some problem, right? So, sorry. To repair that software, they will release some hotfix, they will release some cumulative updates and as well as service pack. So hotfix and cumulative update and service pack, I will explain what exactly it will do. But the number like 2013, like 2016, the number will be, here we can see 13. If it is 2017 version, the number will be 14. If it is 2019, the number will be 15. If the 2022, the number will be 16.
Yeah,
But
same thing. Based on that ordering, the SQL Server 2025 that you're saying it's released, but not like
not
enterprise or whatever.
utilizing from
It's
the
not in
corporate.
production.
Yes, not using.
So what is the version of that? That is 17?
No. Version is like version means like what is the version? Version is nothing but a generation. See, like I have
It's exactly same thing. So what will be when you install 2025? What do you see? Like you're seeing SQL Server 16.0, right? So when you
here
install
we can see like
2025, what will
here
be,
we
what
can
do
see
you
the
see?
one more number called like a 17 or maybe 18. I need to check because
Okay.
why? Because if you go for 2005, the number will be some 5. Okay. But if
Yeah,
you
yeah,
see
I
here,
understand. That's okay. But so anything new releases, say 2022, then 2025, the version number will increase 1 or 2
yeah, I
numbers.
got it.
That's
I
what
got
I'm
it.
saying.
So you're asking me like it will take 17 or some other thing, right? I got it. I got it.
Yeah, yeah.
That
That's
will
what I'm
take
asking.
a different number, not
Okay.
necessary to take 17. Why? Because if you go for
Mhm.
2016, that is 13, right?
Yeah.
17, 14,
14,
19,
yeah,
15,
19,
2022, 16. Maybe you're right. If you go for 2025, then that is a I will go for you.
Yeah, yeah, I'm just asking as
Hmm.
a format, whatever they're naming it and the version. I'm
That's good,
just
sir.
curious to.
Yes, it's a number 17.
17.0. Okay.
If you
What is
see,
the RTM?
it's like a release to manufacture. That means like
Release to
if you release the product that have some number, like a bill number. So
Okay, I understand.
initially we release some package. That package we can call like a release to manufacture. That means the product or package we can use. That is called like a RTM.
Okay, thank you.
1 minute. Yeah. So right now I'm going to install. Here, what I'm going to do, like I already gave the requirement to the Windows team. I required this many RAM, this many CPU, and this many disk. Okay, here what I'm going to do, I'm going to create some disk. Okay, think about like I'm creating separate folders. These separate folders we can consider like a drives, because right now in my computer having 2 drives. Here I'm going to create a folder. We can imagine like a this like a drive. Who's calling? Hello, hello. Amazon, huh? 1 minute, 1 minute. Sorry, guys. Yeah. So I'm going to create a separate folders. Okay. One is extra. One I'm going for data. I'm going for log m drive. I'm going to create for data. I'm going to create one more. Data. Temp n drive. So the Windows 10 given the like X drive, M drive, D drive, and temp drive. So before installing, I need to check the operating system, the things right. So here EMS info 32. If I go here, the OS version. Yeah, so the OS version like it's little bit compatible. It's like a Windows 10. That is fit for to install the SQL Server 2022. But in the real IT corporate, there should be 2016 or 2019. And also here, the processor speed. Okay, the minimum is like a 1.4, right? In my system, having 2.0. That is good. Sometimes the older system, the process will be like 1.2 or something. That is not fit. So we have to go for MS Info 32. Then we have to check what is the operating system and what is the process speed and how much RAM we have. So here, if you go for RAM, maybe here. Yeah. So the RAM, how much RAM we have. So here the RAM having 12 GB. So I'm fine. I'm fine for that hardware requirements like operating system. These were like software, right? These are software requirements like the RAM and memory and as well as the processes. I'm good. The other thing is like I need to check what is the drive format. Okay. So the drive format, how I need to check. So we need to open command prompt. Right click. Run as administrator. We have to run administrator. In the IT corporate under normal things also, if you log in as a admin account also, that command prompt or PowerShell, if you want to run anything, we have to open as a run as administrator. Otherwise, we will get like a access denied problem. So we have to always open the command prompt as run as administrator. We have to do our activities. So here I'm going to check my E drive. What is the disk format? Okay, the Windows team given the E drive. I want to check what is the disk format I have. So as per the recommended, the disk format should be 64K. If you're saying below number, then we have to inform them, boss, what are the disk we are going to attach. That is not format. But the thing is like, as I mentioned, we need to ask for disk IVAPS. The disk IVAPS max throughputs. Okay, we required 5,000. Those things we have to ask them, but those values we cannot see from our end. But the Windows team, they knows what are the IBOPs the disk is coming. So if you go here, if you run this, see, mine is like not a 64 format. It's like a some lower than some value. This is not a standard to install the SQL server. The value should be like a 60496. Here we need to go back and ask the Windows team, boss, what are the disks you are attached? That is not proper and format. We need to require 64K things. What will happen? How much data it is going to take at a time? How much data it is going to transfer? It's kind of like a bit. So here the one prerequisites does not meet to install the SQL server. The hardware like software required meet, but the disk layout it did not meet. We have to take a screenshot and we have to send it to the Windows team so that they will do. Even though we informed in the email and even though we informed in the ticket, the thing is like here, what are the activities you are going to do? Those activities we have to do as a ticket. We have to do as a request because everything should be tracked. Why? Because these all activities kind of like a billable project. Okay. So some companies there is a separate team only for they will do only install the SQL server and configure these things and they will hand over to the core database team. So few companies installing the SQL server and supporting the team will be same. But if you go for bigger companies like a JP Morgan or maybe IBM, what it will do, the team will be different. The team will, there are separate team. Installing the SQL server, configuring the availability, they have a separate team. They won't manage to taking the backups. They won't manage to create the database refresh. They won't create the logins. Their job is like only building the, like installing the SQL server. But a few companies, we have to install and we have to configure the high availabilities, and we have to support. Here you got it right, how to check the disk format. Hello.
You're good. You can continue.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the disk level we checked, and hardware level we checked, and the software level we checked. Now right now I cannot do anything because that is my personal laptop. I cannot go and upgrade 64K. So now I'm going to do install. Okay. That is okay. Like if you go and install lower 60 format, the performance will be so. Why? Because while inserting the data, how much data it has to transfer per bit and how much transfer it has to give. But as per the recommendation, we have to go for 64K. So I downloaded the software, then I kept it here. Then once we software open, generally in the real time, the word is called like a media. So if some people are calling like a media, don't get surprised. The media and software both are same. Some people will call like a where is the media? Where is the media means like where is the software? Okay. So in that software, if you see setup is the exe file. The exe file we need to run it. Okay. So here, as I mentioned, right now think about like this virtual machine. We did not install the SQL server. So before installing the SQL server, this virtual machine we can call like a normal virtual machine or computer. But once we install the software to the virtual machine, that time onwards, we can call like this virtual machine like a database server. Okay. So we have to keep in mind that the interview will ask how many database servers we have. That means how many virtual machines in that SQL servers install. Okay. So in the any outage happen, if something in upgrade happen, the real IT word is called database server. So the database server means like where the SQL server installed, that particular virtual machine we can call like a database server. Okay. Make a note whenever the people are asking interview how many database servers we have. So you have to tell the how many computers you install the SQL server. In the interview, they will ask how many SQL instances we have. That is a different question. How many database servers means like how many virtual machines we have. So in that virtual machine, we can install the software 50 times. Okay. One computer, we can install the software 50 times. So in 50 times, while installing the software, there will be two kind of a namings. One is default instance and one more is like a named instance. The one more interview question is like, what is the instance? Okay. So generally the people call like instance, they think like a database server. But database server is different, instance is different. But in the one database server, if we having only one instance, we can call like that is a database server. So if you install the SQL server software in the computer, after installing, we can see like this kind of a naming convention. This is called like an instance. So instance means like a copy of the software. The software, copy of the software install on our computer like an individual machine. Once we install the software, in the background, it will install some specific services. Here I already installed some two instances. Okay. So lab I install, one more instance I install. Okay. So if we install the software, that respect to software service will install. So here the interview will ask, what is the instance? What types of instance we have? So let me go for Microsoft document. What exactly they're telling? What is SQL instance? SQL Server instance is a complete installation of the SQL Server database engine. Okay. So database engine, what is the database engine? I will tell you. While installing the software, there is a one feature called like a database engine. That database engine related services will install in the services. Okay. Here what SQL Service instance, complete installation of the SQL Server database engine and it is associated components on the computer. It represents a self-contained environment managing and hosting the databases. So if you install the software, that software, it will install the few services on the server manager. What are the services.msc? Like if I go for services.msc, this services.msc we can call like a server manager. Server management, like if you install any software, not only SQL, if you install a media player, if you install any gaming software, that respect to services will install in the server manager, and we can see those respect to services. So once we install the software, that respect to software services will install in the server manager, and that software will serve the, and it will provide the environment to keep the data and to retrieve the data. That is called like instance. Then simple word is for what is instance. Instance is a software that can be installed in the individual machine. Those software we can call like a instance. You got it? Make a note. What is the instance? The definition is like instance. Instance is a software that can be installed in the particular individual machine. That software we can call like a SQL instance. That SQL instance will provide the environment to store the data, to retrieve the data, and each and every instance, the independent of the different instances. Can I move forward? What is the database server and what is the instance?
One question.
Hmm.
So you can install the same version multiple on the same host.
Yeah.
Say
So
you're
the thing-
installing 2022.
Yes.
So you can install multiple 2022, and when you're installing, you separate it by a named instance.
Yes. So the thing is like in the software, the thumb rule is like the software that is 2016
Mhm.
or 2019 or 2015. In that software, SQL software, we can install 50. In that 50, that may be 2019, that may be 2022, maybe all 50 belongs to 20.
Say for example, explain about you installing the same version multiple times on the same host.
Yes. So the thing is like I can go and install multiple times, but while installing, I will give the different of names. Okay.
Okay, that's
Like
what
that, I
the
can
named
go for
instance
50.
comes into picture.
The thing is like at that time, this particular database server we can call like a
Mhm.
shared environment, not for the individual. But one more thing is like I can explain what is the shared and dedicated. The shared means like what are the virtual machine that is going to serve different of customers. Okay. That database server or virtual machine we can call like a shared server. That is one thing. And one more thing is like in the virtual machine, you install the only one SQL server. But in that SQL server, you are going to keep different of customers. That time also we can call like a this environment called like a shared environment. But if you going to install only was one SQL instance, in that SQL instance is going to share for only for one customer. That environment we can call like a dedicated